Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are doing okay. So, I actually decided to stream from the phone today. Some of you guys have gotten complaints from my crappy laptop. So, anyways, I hope you guys are having a great Friday. Grab a drink. I have some boring ass water because we have to get right into it, guys. I have been ruminating basically, and I've been going over a lot of the older news reports, interviews, things that the Gonsalves said back in the day, pre-gag order, and it's questionable. And I have to wonder, again, it's just me ruminating maybe. Let me know your input in the chat. Hopefully it's streaming a lot better today from the phone. We shall see, right? Is it possible that Steve Gonsalves wants a mistrial to happen? I know it could be a lot, right? A lot of people are going to say, of course not. That's not what he wants. But maybe, just maybe, let's just let me get right into it, right? Let's see if the chat is working, guys. How are you guys doing today? How's your Friday going? It's a heat wave here in Chicago. It's like 30 degrees. So compared to -10 the other day, it's like summer. I'm like, I need my bikini out, right? Big Plans, Little City in the house. Emily Kate, what's up, baby girl? Hi, Nikki. Justice for Kilo. Hello, Sleuthy Kitty. Magers, welcome. Dawn McKenzie. Hi, Dawn. You made it. Jody, hello. There's, a lot happening in this case, Jody. It's very confusing, right? This is why it's so important, I think, to go back to those old interviews that some family members shared with the world before there was a gag order in place, because some of those things were extremely detailed. And in my opinion, they are not just made up. I mean, they could be, but again, just a reminder for those of you who have not watched my older videos where I talked about the 4chan post, a lot of those posts were made anonymously, right? But then later, as the time passed, a year, 2 years later, we found out that a lot of those anonymous posts that were made on 4chan were actually real. So I have to wonder, is anything that has come out of the Gonsalves' mouth pre-gag order, is there some truth to it, right? ALW, hello. Hi Makers. Hi, Hollyberry. 38 degrees and sunny. Hi, Vicky. 26 here. Hit that like, right? So it looks like the chat is working. Now, let me pull up my comment here, right? So in one of the News Nation interviews, Steve and Christy talking to the news, being themselves, doing what they usually do. And according to them, an investigator had told them that Brian had been stalking and scouting the house and watching potentially the victims enter in and out. Like, he had supposedly been watching, right? Now, in the early days, this was a big deal. Now we have heard from the mouth of Bill Thompson time and time again that Brian Koberger has no connection to the house. He has no connection to the victims, meaning he had not been stalking. Words of Bill Thompson, that works for the state, by the way, right? There was no stalking. He had not stalked or scouted. Some of you guys have said, well, the definition of stalking is a little bit different in Idaho. And I'm like, no, it's not, baby. There's a thing called Google now. And if you Google legal definition of stalking in Idaho, it's basically what we all know stalking to be, right? Repetitive following, unwanted attention from anybody. So it's the same definition, right? Now, since we know that that is a lie already, I want to know the name of the investigator that was telling the Gonsalves this information. Because allegedly, the Gonsalves had hired their own PI, their own private investigator. They were doing their own thing from the get-go, which makes me wonder, right? It makes me wonder because why, first of all, would they hire their own PI? I would assume one reason would be maybe you do not trust local law enforcement, which in my opinion, I get it. I get it. We know all about Moscow PD being a very trashy, very messy, very ghetto PD, police department. They're just shitty, right? Yuri's math teacher, you go girl. Oh my gosh. $20. Thank you. It means a lot. In this economy, whew, thank you. And did they not trust law enforcement? Were they aware of Moscow PD? Were they aware of Stickergate? Were they aware of all the horrible cops in Moscow Police Department? Again, this is not to talk trash about all cops. It's not about that. Stop being a little bitch. This is calling out the bad apples, right? That's all we are doing. And the other reason, in my opinion, for hiring a PI would be that maybe you have something to hide yourself. And of course, I know that I'm going to get the Gonsalves army of hate to come after me because they're like, how could you, Nika? Oh my God, he's a grieving father. And you guys know the psychologist in me is like, yes, we all grieve. But at the same time, bro, you're really gonna go and pay cash to have your own investigation? Something is off there. Let me know in the chat, what do you guys think? Do you think it's because the Gonsalves did not have faith in local LE, but even then they probably knew that the FBI was involved in this case, so do they not trust Moscow PD? Do they not trust ISP, Idaho State Police? Or do they not trust the FBI? Or do they not trust authority figures in general? Or is it because we don't want you guys investigating us? Maybe because we have our own little dirty secrets to hide. And in the words of the Gonsalves, skeletons, bad things are going to come out of the closet, right? So because they said that in the early days, it's like, well, how do you expect us to not wonder? How do you expect us to not ask questions when you yourself said that these things were going to come out? Now you have us all wondering like, well, what's the big secret? What's the big secret? What are we waiting for to come out? And having your own PI might allow for some of those things to remain in the closet, potentially, right? Now, if what that instigator or investigator told the Gonsalves is actually true, which, you know, according to Bill, it's not. First of all, who told him this? BS, right? Who told him this? But also, we have to use critical thinking skills. And if this was, let's assume true for a split second, although it's not true, according to Bill Thompson. If he magically entered the house, if Brian Koberger saw all the cars out there, knowing damn well that there were a lot of people in that house, then that means that he still decided to enter and allegedly commit this crime. Why would somebody do that? You see all of these cars, some of them maybe you know, some of them maybe you don't know. You're gonna tell me this guy had the, okay, not that word, the courage, that he have the courage, the nads to enter, knowing there was a shit ton of cars up front, and it's like, yeah, I'm still gonna go in there and try to see what I can do, try to see if I can get away with it. Let's do this. I don't think that's how most killers work. And in this case, we know that there was basically no DNA left. They have found nothing on Koberger, not in his vehicle, not on him. They didn't find any of Koberger's DNA on the victims. They only supposedly found some DNA on the snap button of the sheath of the K-bar, which again, we know it's highly questionable because we all know by now, hopefully, how touch DNA works. So if Brian Kober actually did it, which, let's be real, we probably didn't. This case is looking like he didn't. unless, of course, the state can show us actual evidence, right? Unless it can show us otherwise, it looks like he didn't do this. And we're supposed to believe this guy had the courage to just go in there and be like, yeah, let's try it. Let's see what we can do. We don't know who's in there, but let's see how many people we can take out without leaving any DNA. I freaking doubt it, right? That's pretty dumb. And people who don't understand psychology and who don't understand serial killers are like, oh yeah, that's how they get their adrenaline rush. It's like, no. Most serial killers are extremely meticulous. They don't do things just because they feel like it in the moment, knowing that it is a high-risk situation. Most serial killers do things in a planned fashion, right? Especially because we know that this crime was very likely premeditated, probably very highly premeditated. This was not impulsively done. So Christie had also said that he went inside the house to unalive 1 and instead unalived 4. And that Ethan and Xana were collateral damage. But, again, critical thinking cap, put it on, babe, put it on. By the way, there's 111 on you in here. Baby, you're either a hater or you're lazy, so go give it a like. If you're a hater, that's even better. You motivate me. You make me grow. You feed my soul. I like triggering people. Now, let's analyze this statement, right? Again, I have no idea where Christie is getting this information from. Is it her PI that's apparently giving them really shitty information? She's just pulling the shit out of her ass. Is it because she's grieving? Why is she saying things that are freaking random, right? Maybe they are not random. So she said he went inside the house to unalive 1 and instead unalived 4. And that Ethan and Xana were collateral damage. But if they were collateral damage, then that means that Ethan and Xana heard the killings and saw the killers, right? That's what would make the most sense. Because if they were collateral damage, then that means that Kaylee and Maddie were probably getting attacked. Let's assume that Maddie was a target, because that also doesn't fit the Gonsalves' story, because according to them, it was their daughter. But let's assume that it was Maddie, that the killer entered targeting Maddie and was not expecting to see Kaylee in the room. If Ethan and Xana heard the killings, sorry, my dad's calling me. Dad, don't call me Dad. God, I'm YouTubing. I'm trying to be famous. Is the sound ready yet? Is the sound ready? Is the sound ready? Dad. So annoying. Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Dan says it's good now. I don't know what you guys miss. Okay, it was my dad calling. So annoying. I'm trying to be famous. God. Stop calling. He loves me. But I was saying that, okay, if Christie said that Brian Koberger allegedly went inside the house to unalive 1 and instead ended up unaliving 4 people, right? If you go in there with the intention of killing 1 person and you end up killing 4 people, and that Ethan and Xana were collateral damage, words of Christie, then that means that Ethan and Xana heard the killings and saw the killers, because if Maddie was a target, if you're going in there with the intention to kill 1 person and you kill 4 other people, then that means other people heard. Meaning that either Kaylee heard and went over to help, and that's why she was also found in the room, or that Kaylee was in the room sleeping with Maddie, and the killer was not expecting that, meaning the killer was triggered, and meaning that Ethan and Xana heard what was going on, and as good roommates, as good friends would do, they went over to help Kaylee and Maddie. But that's a problem for the remaining roommates, right? Because if Ethan and Xana heard what was going on, then that means the surviving roommates also heard. Specifically Dylan, because Dylan was across the hall from Xana. So what is her excuse? But she was frozen in shock. No, we know that that is a lie now, right? Steve was allegedly told by one of the grand jurors that Bethany and Dylan were texting each other when the rampage was taking place. I'll tell Daddy say hi, Patricia. Allegedly told that they were texting each other. And when they were texting each other, what were they texting about? I want to know what they were texting about. Those messages have yet to be released. I want to know what they were talking about. Was it a drugged conversation? Was it them talking about the killings going on in the background? What was it about? Because now we know that they were not frozen in shock. Bitch, your fingers magically happened to thaw out, right? If you were texting. So yeah, I'm not buying that shit, Dylan. Again, if Ethan and Xana went to actually help, then that means that Dylan, being right across Xana, also heard very likely what was taking place. And now we know allegedly that they were texting each other. Steve did say when the claims came out that this was fiction and that he didn't agree to this interview and that this was all for attention. But in my opinion, guys, these are extremely detailed comments. And every time that we have had any sort of extremely detailed comment, whether it's 4chan or Reddit or YouTube or them in their pre-gag interviews, they happen to be true. So I'm just gonna keep that in the bank, keep it in the back of my brain, and remind myself, is it possible that there is any truth to this? I just have a feeling still, potentially, that Kohberger could walk. Right? We know that Steve has done so much talking, constantly talking, right? We know he has talked to grand jurors. He has criticized law enforcement since day one. He criticized Judge. I mean, I'm with him on that, right? He was talking to the news. He was doing a whole bunch of interviews. And now he's allegedly inviting YouTubers over for sleepovers during the trial, if that's actually his account, right? Gonzo05 over at DT. A lot of talking. I don't know about you, but talk about giving ammo to Ann Taylor for her to call a mistrial. Because Ann Taylor can take all of that and say, you know what? I'm going to argue that there's no way for Mr. Brian Christopher Kohberger to get a free trial now. That's exactly how you call a mistrial. So, with all that out of the way, I'm like, hold up. Let me step back a little bit. He's doing everything wrong. Everything. I don't think he is stupid. I think Steve G is an intelligent man. I know that you guys may disagree. He is a flawed human being, aren't we all? But I still think he is intelligent. So if we step back just a touch and realize he's doing everything wrong since day one and continues to, it makes you wonder, it makes me wonder, is it all part of the plan? I have water. Water. Is it all part of the plan? Because what if that's exactly what he wants? What if that is exactly what the Gonsalves want? A mistrial. What if deep down they know that Brian Kohberger is not the guy? What if deep down in the dark corners of their soul, they know this is not the guy? They know that Brian Kohberger is innocent. And you know what? They're like, let's do everything wrong. Let's get a mistrial. This is not our guy. In my opinion, Steve Gonsalves comes across as the type of man who is very meticulous. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants. And when I put myself in the shoes of a person that thinks that way, I would say, you took one of my own, you took one of my daughters, and Maddie, who was also like a daughter to me. I'm going to get you. We'll have this trial for the public eye. Keep attention on Bryan Kohberger while we handle business in the back, baby. And this is a theory, of course. I want to remind everybody, I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of him. I'm not him, but I'm just trying to think. If I was that type of way and I wanted my revenge for my daughter, my daughters, Maddie included, that would be perfect. Get your revenge on the side. Have your own PI. Have your own investigation going on in the background. Get revenge. Take whoever you need to take out. And down the road, there will probably be a mistrial, and Bryan Kohberger will be let go because he's innocent. Wouldn't that be like the perfect revenge if you were Steve? Have your own thing going on in the background, but all eyes at the moment are on Kohberger. They are not on anybody else but Bryan. And maybe that's far-fetched, but something tells me that all of what the Gonsalves have said, have done in the public eye are carefully measured words. They are planned out, most likely. They have an end goal in mind. Let's see the chat. Exactly, Kimberly. You get me. You get me, girl. The mistrial covers for the real perps. If Dylan and Bethany were texting between 4 and 4:20, it was part of their cover-up so that they could make it look like they were texting while the crime was going on. It had already happened. Damage control. But that's not damage control, right? Because then you're going to be questioned. You were texting. You were awake. And we're supposed to believe that you didn't hear people getting murdered in your own house. No, it's not far-fetched. I've thought the same for many weeks. BK has been in protective custody since the beginning, and I know some of us have theorized that maybe he could be a PI, he could be an informant, he could work for the FBI, but currently we don't have any proof of that, right? So that's it for the day, guys. I just wanted to share that with you because we have to remember the things that the Gonsalves said in the early days, pre-gag order. I think there's a lot of hidden truth in those comments. Either that or they had an investigator that was just selling them lies, selling them BS just to make them feel comfortable in the moment and to rip them off. It's one or the other, baby. It's one or the other. So thank you guys for joining me in the chat today. I hope the streaming was a bit better on this phone compared to my laptop. So thanks for joining me in the chat. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you leave a comment. I always like joining you guys here. And if you don't like this video, if you like this video, do something. Thumbs up, thumbs down. A lot of you are still telling me that you're not getting notifications, so make sure that you are still subscribed so that you are getting those notifications. You guys have an amazing weekend. Enjoy the family, enjoy the good weather. Make sure to eat a lot of yummy foods and take care, guys. Bye. Have a great weekend. Take care. I gotta go call my dad now. Bye.